Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cali Veil channel. Shout out to All Asian Dilemmas. Quick review. You know, it's rumored that Chinese men are becoming passport bros, what American men are doing. Well, honestly, this all started with the Army boys back way back. The only difference was we didn't have social media to advertise it, right? But see, now it's like when a man goes to another country looking for a spouse, a lot of times the women know why that man is in that country. They know that that man was unsuccessful in his own country, and they know that he was invisible. So, worst case scenario, you go to other countries to look for your the love of your life, right? But that's not always the case, especially when you marry into other cultures. Let's see what these guys went through.
First, everyone take a look at this chat. Another Chinese man got scammed while trying to find a wife in Southeast Asia. Hello, everyone. I'm Daeong. This is my new profile. Please help me by following before you continue watching. Today, I'm going to tell you a truth. If your family is poor and you don't have much money, stop trying to find a wife in Vietnam. Why? Because in the end, you will lose both your money and your dignity. Many people see others succeeding and think they can do the same. So they start researching online. What do they find? They read that girls from Southeast Asia love Chinese men and want to marry them. Others say there's no dowry required and that the girls are beautiful, with fair skin, long legs, and attractive looks. But here's what I'm telling you. Those girls who don't ask for a dowry, it's because they really like the man. If they don't like you, they won't even think about accepting a dowry. If you're not the type of man they want, they'll run away, and you won't even notice. Besides, you see others succeeding, but you don't see the effort they put into getting there.
Yeah, but my thing is, okay, she didn't ask you for a dowry, but she still expects you to upgrade her lifestyle. That dowry goes to her parents to upgrade their lifestyle. So it doesn't matter if you have to pay the dowry or not, because you still have to provide a life for her financially. And as the man, you're supposed to have more money than her, which most likely you're going to have to spend money to keep her around you. Otherwise, she's going to leave you for somebody that has more money than you.
Let me use my own example. I successfully found a wife in Vietnam, but what I did to get there is not something that everyone can do.
Duh.
It's not easy. During the pandemic, I went to Vietnam. At that time, the commercial flights were suspended, so we had to charter a private plane. Yes, you heard that right. We flew on a private plane. And how much did this cost?
Oh boy.
In total, it was about 20,000 to 30,000 yuan, just for the flight, quarantine, and documentation fees. This is an expense that most people wouldn't be willing to make.
No.
Everything I'm saying, most people ignore, thinking it's simple. Vietnamese girls, what do they want? They prefer tall, handsome men with a good sense of humor, who know how to take care of them. That's the reality. Some girls may accept a small dowry or no dowry at all. But there are people who message me saying they are already 40 or 50 years old and still want me to find a 20-year-old girlfriend who speaks Chinese, is a college student, and meets all the conditions I mentioned. Honestly, the only people who can meet those demands are scammers.
That's because scammers have more money than average people. People always say that they're entrepreneurs and everything, they made this much money, but they never say exactly what they do. They never put out their resources or anything. So that automatically makes you a scammer because nobody knows anything about your resources. I mean, you're not expected to tell everything, but something's up if you got all this money to splurge and you can't tell how you really made the money.
I've spoken to these men, and they say, I have money, I have a house, I have a car. But the truth is that Vietnamese girls don't care that much about this. If your house is just a simple house in a county, and your car isn't of great value, it doesn't matter to them. To them, it's not a great condition. Also, if your age is already advanced, the chances decrease even more.
What?
Generally, these people don't want to listen, but when they ask me, I give advice. Honestly, Vietnamese girls don't want to marry Chinese men. They have much better options in other countries.
Oh, they do?
So why would they choose a Chinese man? If they like you, it's because you're willing to live in Vietnam, buy a house there, build something for her, and take care of her family.
And see, here's the thing, as a foreigner, it's not everybody's dream to leave the country they've been in all their life just for one person, because you're taking that person away from their family, right? But see, in most Asian countries, if you marry into an Asian family, they're all about family. It's not like it is out here in the West where this individualism shit. Nah, that doesn't fly in Asian countries. In most Asian countries, the culture, they're all about family. So not only do you have to get to know her, you better get to know her family as well. Because when you marry her, you're pretty much marrying the whole family. So you got all these people to deal with. It's never going to be just you and her. You're going to be dealing with a lot of family events and everything. So you have to have that on lock too. You got to be cool with the family. See, out here in the West, it's fuck your family and all this, right? Out there, nah. They could still keep their daughter away from the men, the foreign men. They have that much power. It doesn't make a difference if you have money or not. See, people think that they could just come to these countries and control these women with money, but it doesn't work that way. It might work here in America, but over there, it's all about family ties.
If you can do this, she will want to marry you, even if your conditions aren't the best. But to live in Vietnam, you need to have the ability to support yourself there. Not everyone can live abroad.
No.
Like those who were scammed, the scammers knew how to exploit their weaknesses. They didn't have much to offer, but they demanded too much, and only a scammer could meet those demands. In the end, they lose everything and start over from scratch. These people are really unfortunate. If you saw this video, please share it with more people so they can know the truth about the situation. Don't be fooled. The reality is very different from what many imagine. Most men who go to Southeast Asia without knowing the truth end up deeply regretting it. So, if you really want to find a life partner, don't rush. Look for the truth and honesty, because in the end, what matters is the true connection and mutual respect.
Yeah.
You already track how far you've gone. The forecast each day.
Why do Southeast Asian girls you meet end up leaving? Hello everyone. My name is Xiaro. Today I'm going to talk about a question that's been on many people's minds. Why do the Southeast Asian girls you meet end up leaving? This is a reality that many don't talk about, but I've seen it happen over and over again. In the beginning, everything seems perfect. You meet a girl from Southeast Asia, things go smoothly, and everything looks like a fairy tale. But after some time she suddenly disappears. Why is this happening? Why do so many brides who marry Chinese men end up leaving? I believe there are three main reasons, and they are not as simple as you might think. First, let's talk about the financial deception.
That part.
In Southeast Asia, many areas are still developing, and there are more girls than boys. Over in China, we have a growing number of unmarried men, and the competition for finding a partner is fierce. In Southeast Asia, families are under a lot of pressure to get their daughters married, and some families even resort to deceit. They promise that for a small amount of money, a Chinese man can marry their daughter, making it sound like a good deal. But after the wedding, it's often a different story. These women end up leaving, and then the man starts the whole cycle over again. It's heartbreaking, but it's a cycle that many men get caught in without realizing it. Second, let's address the harsh reality of life. The truth is, many of these women come from tough situations. They often marry men who are not in the best financial position. Many of them have been single for years and come from introverted backgrounds. Some even have temperamental personalities. And when they arrive in China, they realize the life they've entered is nothing like they expected. Small disagreements escalate into bigger problems, and when the pressure becomes too much, the woman chooses to leave. This is a tough reality that not many men are prepared for. The idealized picture of a happy marriage quickly fades when the weight of everyday life becomes too overwhelming. Third, and perhaps the hardest pill to swallow, is the language and cultural barrier. Imagine trying to build a life with someone, but the language is a constant obstacle. The emotional distance grows as you can't communicate properly. What starts off as an exciting adventure quickly becomes frustrating and isolating. This is the harsh reality many men don't think about when they marry someone from a foreign country.
Yeah, because see, too many people are going over there thinking that they could just leave the girl with money.
Not only is the language a barrier, but the cultural differences create even more tension. When two people can't communicate their needs or understand each other's point of view, it becomes a ticking time bomb. Eventually, the woman starts to feel trapped and may opt for a divorce or, in some cases, secretly run away. It's painful, but it happens more often than you think. So, what can we learn from all of this? First, don't think that marrying a Southeast Asian woman is a quick and easy solution. The idea that you can buy love or affection with money is a dangerous myth. It's not a transaction, it's a relationship that requires effort, understanding, and commitment. Second, if you want to find a wife from Southeast Asia, take the time to get to know her. Don't rush into things. Build a relationship based on trust, mutual understanding, and shared values. Don't assume that just because someone is from another country, they will fit into your life perfectly. You have to be patient, and you have to be ready to invest emotionally in the relationship. Third, treat your wife with respect. Just because she's from another country doesn't mean you have the right to mistreat her.
And see, that's what a lot that goes on. A lot of these people that go to these other countries to find wives, a lot of times the marriage ends up being toxic. It's not even a good match to begin with a lot of times. For whatever reason, you decide to pick this person and you try to do everything your way, and then she's just not abiding, and then it just creates tension, and then it's just a headache. So a lot of these international marriages is just a headache.
She's made a huge sacrifice by coming to a foreign land to start a life with you. It's not just about providing financially, it's about emotional support, love, and respect. If you want a healthy marriage, you need to nurture it. Don't take her for granted. Fourth, don't rely on translation apps for communication. Language barriers are real, but they shouldn't be a wall between you and your partner.
Basically, you're going to have to find somebody that's fluent in English or whatever language country you're from if you're trying to bring them over there, whether it's Europe, Germany, whatever. It's like, yeah, don't rely on the apps. It's going to take a long time for her to learn your language.
Learn each other's language and make an effort to communicate without technology getting in the way. Emotional connections are built through real conversations, not just words typed into an app. Fifth, make your marriage a partnership. Marriage isn't about one person doing everything. It's about teamwork.
Yeah.
Share the responsibility of household chores, finances, and emotional support.
Is she talking about 50-50? Oh my gosh. A lot of people in this generation are against that. This is a real traditional woman. Is she talking about 50-50? Because a lot of people refuse to do that. Usually, there's a lot of arguing in 50-50 relationships. One person usually doesn't own up to their part. They didn't load the dishwasher. They didn't take out the trash. They didn't fold the laundry right. They didn't dust the high ceilings.
A strong marriage is built when both partners put in the effort to make it work. Lastly, understand that this is not a fairy tale. Marrying someone from a different culture and background is not a magical solution to loneliness or personal problems. It takes hard work, patience, and understanding. If you're not ready for that, then maybe you should reconsider your decision to get married.
Ooh, game.
When I arrived in Africa, I had no idea what I was about to experience.
Oh boy.
I never imagined that I would end up marrying an African woman, let alone that it would change my life in ways I never could have predicted. At first, everything seemed perfect. Life here felt much simpler, with fewer financial and social pressures.
You thought.
And African women saw Chinese men with eyes full of admiration, as if we were charming princes. For them, love seemed to be enough. I felt valued, even admired, and that was definitely something that attracted me. But over time, the reality began to reveal itself differently. I had no idea what was coming, and I ended up falling into a series of misunderstandings that almost cost me my marriage. Don't think it's easy to marry an African woman, especially if you don't have a good financial situation.
Especially if you're a black man in America. It's the same thing. It's completely different. You think, oh, those are my people. No, they're not your people because you don't speak the language, you don't know the culture, and you don't eat the food. So how are those your people if you guys come from completely different countries and two different religions and cultures? Yeah, They'll tell you straight up, you're not our people, especially Jamaicans. Yeah, you're not our people, sorry.
One of the first things that caught my attention was the dowry. Yes, just like in other cultures, in Africa, there is a custom of asking for a significant amount for the bride's family, and it's not a small amount, as many might imagine. In fact, the dowry required in Africa can be much higher than what Chinese women ask for.
What?
This was a surprise for me, as I wasn't prepared for such financial expectations. And it's not just about the dowry. The cultural differences that seem small at first become major barriers over time. I began to realize that, although there was love, the expectations from her family, the way she saw things, and how society in general treated our union, all started creating a gap between us. I won't lie, there were many difficult moments. If you're not prepared to face these differences, the relationship can become unsustainable. Additionally, the pressures from her family were something that caught me off guard. In Africa, families play a much larger role, and the expectations for a son-in-law's behavior are much higher. I was confronted with demands I never imagined and with a culture that was much more rigid than the one I was used to.
Damn.
At first, everything seemed exotic, but later, these differences began to weigh heavily, and I realized that marrying an African woman wasn't as I had imagined. Many friends asked me if I regret marrying an African woman, and I say yes, in many ways. It's not just the dowry, not just the cultural differences, but the lack of emotional preparation to deal with the pressure of living in such a different place and with expectations so far removed from what I imagined. I know many men who, like me, had a good start, but later faced the reality of difficulties. I've seen cases of guys who, after getting married, started feeling like the relationship was a constant struggle against differences they could never overcome. And before anyone thinks I'm saying it's not worth trying, I want to make it clear that there are positives too. Many African women are incredibly strong, hardworking, and dedicated to their families. And what I learned from this experience is that, at the core, intercultural marriage requires much more than just love and admiration. You need to be fully willing to adapt, to understand the other person on a much deeper level, and to deal with differences with respect and patience. It's not for everyone. If you're thinking about marrying an African woman or someone from any other culture, I recommend you prepare much more than I did. There are many complexities that only appear after marriage, and it can be tough to handle all the changes. What seemed like a simple solution, to get married and start a new life, actually turned into an experience full of challenges that made me rethink my decision multiple times. I'm not saying you shouldn't try, but intercultural marriage requires much more than you think. While there will be moments of joy and achievement, there will also be moments of reflection and regret. So, if you're determined to go down this path, remember that in the end, what will determine the success of the marriage is how much you're willing to face and learn from the differences, and how much you're willing to sacrifice to make it work.
But see, have you noticed that he never mentioned his family and her family? Did they get along? That was never mentioned. So it seems like he went into this blind. And eventually it failed.
Brothers, the sky has fallen, hasn't it? Have you ever seen something like this? Have you come across this? This whole marriage thing. I really don't want to talk about it. You can check out some accounts of foreigners saying that Chinese women are easy girls, and that Chinese women are as cheap as Brazilian barbecue meat.
Whoa.
A foreigner who lived in China for 4 years had relationships with more than 1,000. Yes, more than 1,000 Chinese women. And there was another foreigner who made a challenge on the streets, trying to kiss 100 Chinese women.
And these were two white men. Two European white men. Go figure.
And the result? That foreigner was super confident. Something that would be very hard to achieve in his country. But here in China, in our country, he managed to do it in just over an hour. He kissed 100 women. These girls here who ignore us, the ordinary men, demand 1,001 things. But for foreigners, they practically beg for attention.
Yeah, because they're exotic. And they know that they're only going to be there for like a week or two. So of course all the attention is going to shift on them. If you're exotic, you're good. They know you're from somewhere else. It's something that they're not used to seeing, and they want to have the experience to interact with an American or European, specifically white. That's just how it goes.
Who is creating this entertainment? Who is doing this? This leaves us, the ordinary and normal guys, with no hope of dating or getting married. What can we do? Anyway, I'm scared.
What? All right, everybody, we're going to wrap it up right here. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, this is interesting. But we have more videos to come. It's Valentine's Day tomorrow. Have a good one. It's raining out here in California, so the weather ain't going to be so sunny, but that's all right. We'll make the best of it. Peace.